Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're back in the Rookery pub on Clapham Common. It is beautiful weather outside, fellas, but not as beautiful as that Benfica shirt. Where have you got that from?
I got it in Portugal in the equivalent of the Co-op, I think there, along with a Porto shirt for about €20.
That's still nicer than United's latest entry.
All right, but very fake. But I'm enjoying it. I thought debut on Sunday Vibes.
Yeah, I actually rate that big time. How are you boys been? Good?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Are you over England's loss yet? I know you've been a bit sad.
Let's not talk about that.
Sad
Just bring me down straight away. I have been, feeling the pain big time about that one. It's just ripped me open, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's concentrate on transfers because it is transfer season now, isn't it? We had loads of questions sent in about the summer transfer business, and the main one we're going to talk about came from Christoph, not Hamill, just at Christoph. That's just a pretty decent handle, isn't it? He's done well to get that.
I'll buy it off him.
He says, what is the smartest piece of business a club has done so far this window? Now, there are quite a few completed deals. You want to talk about Junior Firpo? We quite like that one, don't we?
Yeah, we're waiting for a few things to drop, aren't we? So we might be touching upon some moves that have happened, in the last week or two. But I did like Junior Firpo. £13.5 million feels very reasonable.
Definitely.
Seeing as Wolves paid, 20 million plus for Nelson Semedo this time last season. Obviously held in similarly low regard at Barcelona. And
everybody held in low regard at Barcelona.
They're all
They'd
for
sell
sale.
anyone.
Well, if he can replicate the success that Luca Digne's had at Everton, then it will look like a bargain in a year's time, won't it? So, it's not beyond Barcelona to let good left-back talent go for pennies on the dollar, but an upgrade on Alioski, I would say. Of course, they were light in that berth after releasing Alioski. Stuart Dallas can, of course, play left-back, but only played there for 800 minutes last season, so they did need more depth. And Firpo was on the periphery. I mean, he was almost on the horizon. He was a dot on the horizon at Barcelona last season. 3 La Liga starts, bless him, last season. Only 284 minutes. He's only made 24 league appearances for Barcelona since signing full stop from Real Betis in 2019. He cost 18 mil back then, so they are making a loss, which is Barcelona are making a habit of that, aren't they? Yeah, but his form under Quique Setien at Betis was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We liked him then. I remember being in the old pub way back when, getting nostalgic now, saying that Liverpool should sign Firpo as a backup option after his really impressive campaign under Setien at Betis. And he wasn't like a monstrous two-way fullback because they played a back three as well, so he had license to sort of roam up and down that left-hand side, got off a shot, got off a key pass per 90, which are useful numbers, but it's not like Robertson levels, is it, or Tierney levels. But he was extremely decisive when he got the ball in good positions. So he had an expected goals and assist rate of 0.25 per 90, which is pretty good. I think 3 tackles and interceptions, again, shows he's got a useful skill set, 1.5 dribbles, so pretty good with the ball at his feet. And Bielsa's Leeds do have some similarities with Quique Setien's Real Betis. They were very hard workers, they were very fervent pressers, saw a lot of the ball as well, which, when you see 3 tackles and interceptions, if you adjusted that for possession, it would look a lot more impressive, actually, having thought about it a little bit more. And according to The Athletic, Firpo recorded the highest marks in fitness at Barcelona. Yeah, so clearly not letting himself go, despite not playing, which, very professional mentality, bodes well for adjusting to Bielsa's ruthless pre-season routine. And both Milan clubs wanted him. So this is quite a coup for Leeds, and it shows you the pulling power of clubs.
They can offer Champions League football.
Yeah, they can offer Champions League football, but Leeds can probably offer double the wages at this point, and a genuine promise to kind of shoot for Europa League football, I would say, if they make a couple more savvy additions. So yeah, I quite like this, and they've done a good job at sort of, maybe Rodrigo aside, who was injured a lot last season, haven't they, of gradually updating and upgrading various positions. And yeah, I think, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing how he does on that left-hand side for
I think they've
Ellen Road.
I think they've started the window pretty well because that Jack Harrison deal's over the line as well. Now, obviously, that was
a bargain.
It's almost like a formality.
What a bargain!
Was it like 10 mil?
Yeah, I think so.
Like that?
I think it might have been 8, and they paid 2 to loan him. But
but what a bargain that's going to be. And like you said, Rafinha is a huge upgrade. I'm sure he's going to be even better in his second season in the Premier League. To be honest with you, they probably in the back of their minds, Leeds are thinking, we get one more year out of Rafinha at best, and then next summer he will probably go on to like superstar clubs. But that's fine for Leeds to be that like progressive option, and a player like Junior Firpo, who hasn't smashed it at Barcelona, but a lot of players that have been very successful and of very solid quality haven't smashed it at Barcelona in recent years. Like the Trincão move could also be considered in these smart transfers, I think. Just because you've struggled in a pretty average and poor Barcelona side over the last few years might not be your own fault at this point.
Yeah, and in a team that's gone through 3 managers, 2 presidents, like it's been complete chaos there for a while. I was just going to add, sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to
the words
interrupt
out
you,
my mouth, mate.
But the Leeds team is quite interesting because you look at that team and it's not really that obvious where they need to improve because you feel like Bielsa's getting almost the best out of every single player. Like if you looked at individual player quality and like their backstory, you probably go Luke Ayling could be upgraded, but he was one of their best players last
Sensational.
year. So there's almost no need to do that. Like trust in the player, he's performing really well, nailed his first year in the Premier League. So I think Leeds are on a great path, as Hamel said. Maybe Europa League pushing for that this year.
Yeah, I do wonder whether they'll still be looking for a centre-back, Leeds. Like, I think Koch had a good, at times was good, but that Ben White hole has been filled to a level, but I wonder whether or not Bielsa will be thinking, can I get an even bigger upgrade in that role?
They have Llorente as well.
Yeah, but he was injured
into
for a long time.
Yeah, he was injured for a long time. When he came back, he looked like the archetypal Bielsa centre-half, a sensational passer, doesn't mind stepping out of defence with the ball. I think, yes, they could shop for a centre-half, but if they are confident in the fitness of Llorente, of Liam Cooper, of Koch, then maybe not so much. But yeah, they do need to kind of step up their recovery, so to speak.
And there is massive pressure on Calvin Phillips to play a huge amount of minutes pretty much every season, isn't there? So fingers crossed he doesn't pick up any problems, because I could see that becoming an issue if he was to miss 3 or 4 months.
Just a random thought. A lot of people talking about Declan Rice, and a lot of people agreeing that like £60 million would be a fair price for him, but obviously West Ham have valued him at £100 million. What would you pay for Calvin Phillips if that, or if you're Leeds, what would you demand for Calvin Phillips, knowing that's the price now for Declan Rice?
I think I'd comfortably pay 45, 50 million pounds for Calvin Phillips. I really do think he's that good. And on the back of this Euros as well, it's probably added another 10, 15 million pounds on him.
So you're going 65 now?
But just this summer. But I don't think he's going to move this summer.
No.
Like if they were to sell him this summer, I think Leeds could ask for 65. I actually think he, playing in that slightly freer role under that Southgate gave him, I thought he was so impressive. Declan Rice, I think, is magnificent as well. He's got everything except for, I think he's slightly wasteful in the final third sometimes. He shoots from weird angles at times when he's, the crowd behind him at West Ham. But 2 awesome players as well. I think Calvin Phillips has potentially gone further in my estimations than Declan Rice this summer, I think. Just because I knew Rice was very solid already.
I think that final performance from Declan Rice was something I haven't seen yet from him. Being able to pick the ball up in tight areas, go past 2 or 3 people and then distribute. I hadn't seen that from Declan Rice. Probably just my own fault not watching enough West Ham 90 minutes, to be honest with you, because I'm sure West Ham fans will be at home saying, well, he does that consistently for us. But I think that was definitely an accusation that was levelled at Declan Rice. Can he pick the ball up in tight spaces and be progressive?
I'm not sure, you might be doing yourself a disservice there. I'm not sure he does regularly beat 4 people a game. Like his dribble completion rate was always really high, wasn't it? Like 70, 80%, but he was only taking on 1 guy per 90 last season, I think was about his average number. So yeah, he did look like Franz Beckenbauer in the final.
He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And England really suffered when I think he picked up a knock in that first half, then had to go off in the second. And England, were not the same team, and Verratti just came into it and sort of dominated.
You guys said it a second ago. What do you think to the Trincão move then? Because, like Doogie said, a lot of value to be had at Barcelona because of their utter mismanagement of everything.
Yeah, I feel quite sorry for him, to be honest. I think he's a really talented player. Was obviously quite far down the pecking order last year, with Ousmane Dembele coming into the best form of his Barcelona career so far. But Francisco Trincão, when he was signed by Braga, no one really knew much about him. I think he'd made 6 or 7 appearances for them. Then he really killed it in the end of the Portuguese league. Then went to Barcelona and just didn't really get enough game time to get going. But I think he's such a talented player. And for this fee on loan and then a potential fee for 20 million euros, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an absolute snip for Wolves. And with so many Portuguese players in that club already, I think this could go really well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether they change shape and formation at Wolves as well, because that 3 at the back system under Nuno was so locked in, wasn't it? It feels like if they are to change shape and maybe move to a 4 and be slightly more progressive, at the other end of the pitch to Trincão, like, is Connor Cody going to be able to participate in a back four consistently? I don't know whether or not that's part of the plan or whether he'll stick with the three, but consistently now Wolves have picked up these young sort of Portuguese talents, obviously via the links to Jorge Mendes, and I think this is probably the best fee we've seen so far, because the name is slipping my mind, the Porto 18-year-old they bought in, Fabio Silva. They paid slightly over the odds for him, didn't they? Was it 35, 40?
A suspicious amount.
Yeah. Whereas Trincão,
it's rising as well,
on loan with a 20 million euro option to buy, seems much more sort of savvy business, I would say.
I think this is proper egg on Barcelona's face. Like, he had as many goal contributions as starts in the league, and his numbers, when you added up all those little cameo performances, spoke of someone who was developing at Barcelona, who could make an impression on a first team basis. I think he was having over 3 shots. I think he was supplying like over 1.5, 2 key passes. But they've been forced to sell him to make up for idiotic decisions elsewhere. I think had they had a suitor for Coutinho, they wouldn't want to have sold Trincão. But now it's like,
I thought it was an initial loan, or is it permanent?
I think it's loan with an option to buy.
They have an option to buy, but it's now like
we're probably going to have to take that.
We have to part ways with people that could have been really useful squad players.
Yeah, but he was probably on fairly substantial wages at Barcelona. Everybody seems to be on bigger wage than you thought they were at Barcelona. So
I mean, there's so many rumours about who's on what at Barcelona. I'm never quite sure. I think there's Samuel Umtiti's on about 250k apparently, but you just have no idea.
Griezmann's between like 600 and 900.
They can't even get people to cancel the contracts at the moment, can they? Barcelona, like Pjanic and Umtiti are just like, why would I give up 200k a week to leave you right now? But yeah, let's crack on with some more Premier League smart signings then. Patson Daka, 1.2 non-penalty goals per 90 last season, Austrian Bundesliga Player of the Year.
Woof.
Dudes, this feels like a
unreal
signing.
We talked about him briefly on Sunday Vibes the other day, so I don't want to go over too much trodden ground, but I think he was about £26 million. They got it done really early as well, so hopefully he can get a lot of pre-season in, he can hit the ground running. But yeah, I think it's 51 goals in 59 games over the last 2 seasons with 10 assists. Just looked far too good for the Austrian Bundesliga, and then performed pretty well in the Champions League as well. I think it was close to 4 shots per 90 in the Champions League. Salzburg were slightly disappointing, I would say, despite being drawn in a very difficult group alongside Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich last year. I think they were more impressive the year before, when I think they had Liverpool in their group, I seem to remember. But anyway, he played in a 4-2-2-2 under Jesse Marsch. There's some speculation that Brendan Rodgers will try and play that formation more often this year, with Vardy slightly going off the ball after January. I don't know whether he's just a bit tired, whether he'll be back this year. I mean, every time we've written off Jamie Vardy, not we, but me personally, he always comes back with a bang. So, write him off at your peril. But I think as I said on Sunday Vibes a few weeks ago, I think he makes more sense than the Odsonne Edouard deal in terms of he can work well with Iheanacho as that number 9, replace Vardy in the long term as well. And he's had a really difficult, he's been tested in the past as well. Obviously, some people have some, concerns about coming from the Austrian Bundesliga, but he's done very well at international level as well. I remember reading that his dad passed away when he was very young. He then got booed on his Zambian debut because they weren't impressed enough with him. He then went back down to under-17 level, and they won the under-17 AFCON, I think. So he's really stepped up on occasions as well. I just think it's a smart business, done early, once again by Leicester, and full credit to them.
I think this is a smart bit of business because in everybody's mind, I'm sure, in my mind as well, Patson Daka was next in line for the Leipzig move. They've obviously gone down a different route, which I think another smart transfer, by the way, André Silva being picked up for £19 million, I think 23 million euros, which is an absolute disgrace, quite frankly, that he's been allowed to move from club to slightly higher level club, no disservice to Frankfurt, for that fee. So cheap, that's a smart bit of business. But Patson Daka felt like next in line for that role, and André Silva has picked up £19 million.
He was also going back to Patson Daka, he was very heavily linked with Liverpool over the last 2 years. Ever since they played them in the Champions League, or in a pre-season, I think that season before they played them in the Champions League, Klopp has been all over him as well. And Spurs were linked with him as well. So for Leicester, historically a smaller club than Spurs and Liverpool, but probably above Spurs right now, obviously. To pick him up is, I think, a very shrewd bit of business.
Yeah, 100%.
Leipzig signed Szoboszlai as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Who got injured fairly quickly after his move. So I imagine they were torn between him and Daka, and just thought, okay, let's go for Szoboszlai, and then maybe for sporting integrity reasons, I couldn't sign both of them. But what?
Yeah, and also like André Silva for that fee, they probably just couldn't say no. Like it feels like you're picking up a nailed on 20 plus goal season striker in the Bundesliga who is going to come in and immediately be a fantastic player. Because post Nagelsmann, there might be a bit of a dip in attacking output. We know that Nagelsmann kind of supercharges every attack he gets involved in. Look at that Hoffenheim side under Julian Nagelsmann and the numbers they were able to produce with not average players, but certainly not superstar level players. And they were probably thinking to themselves, Leipzig, we just better get proven goal scorers in here just to cover that.
Leipzig are going to be fascinating next year as well, because Sabitzer might leave, Meccano's left, Konate's left. They brought in Simakan and Gvardiol as well, so they've sort of restructured their defence. You know, there's changing up top with André Silva in as well. So, yeah, Leipzig definitely ones to watch next year either way.
Okay, we've got to talk about him, I suppose. Are we saying Jadon Sancho as a smart transfer?
I think it's the smartest.
Go on, Dukes.
No, I mean, I don't want to take it away because I've just talked about Patson Daka, but I genuinely think this is a potentially era-defining signing, and I'm not just saying that. I've never been so excited about a United signing since Wayne Rooney, I think. And Jadon Sancho is, I think, above where Wayne Rooney was when he signed for Man United. But he was
only 18 when he signed for United, Rooney.
Sorry?
He was only 18 when he signed for United.
Exactly.
So it's a little bit...
But it's a bit unfair to compare. But Jadon Sancho, I mean, what is it, nearly a goal contribution a game over the last 3 years in the Bundesliga? Yeah. Absolutely frightening dribble numbers.
Over 10 progressive carries a game.
Like, he's a joke. And I think it's a potential transformational signing for United and changes the way you're going to attack as well.
It definitely changes the way we're going to attack. I mean, we haven't signed an out-and-out right winger really since Antonio Valencia in 2009. That's how far back we're looking before we find an out-and-out right winger. Like Dan James was brought into United, obviously, to play on the wing. He's a left winger. Consistently signed left wingers. Haven't brought in a right winger. I know Sancho can play on both sides, but we're talking about a player who puts up, like I said, over 10 progressive carries, over 2.5 key passes a game. He's going at, a goal and assist every single...
88 minutes or what?
Every 90 minutes in the Bundesliga, which is outrageous for a 21-year-old. I think he's even put on the captain's armband a couple of times for Dortmund, which I know is pretty impressive over there. And if you speak to any Dortmund fans, they will tell you, Jadon Sancho is the most elite talent that club has seen in years. And we've seen some players come through that. Seen Ousmane Dembele come through there, Christian Pulisic, if you think about. And every Dortmund fan I speak to is like, Jadon Sancho is the best of the bunch by a distance. So I think at £73 million to save 40 million on the financially is good for United. For fans, it means fuck all, because with Jadon Sancho, we might have won the Europa League, might have got to an FA Cup final, might have pushed City even further in that title race last year around Christmas. So it means fuck all for the fans, but for United's balance books, £73 million spread across 5 years for a player of that quality, I mean, it does feel like a smart transfer. I get accused of being biased about everything, so I think it does feel like a smart transfer.
Particularly when you join it up with the talent that you've already got at your club, like Edison Cavani is going to thrive off of the quality of his passing into the penalty area.
Well, for the first 3 months...
82 passes into the penalty area last season, the first in the Bundesliga despite missing 11 games.
The first 3 months of the season, you're almost definitely going to see Pogba on the left, Sancho on the right, Bruno in the hull behind Cavani. I mean, the chance creation numbers, I think Bruno's putting up, we're talking over 3 chances a game. Pogba consistently throughout his United career has been United's best chance creator pre-Bruno. Sancho over 2.5 chances a game and a much more progressive dribbler than either of those two. So fingers crossed we actually have some creativity in that wide right role, because it's been a void for United for years.
Well, I mean, you've kind of always had creativity, but it's kind of been chemistry as well, right? And that was off this season a little bit with Martial's kind of poor form, but it also gives you the opportunity to rotate Cavani and Mason Greenwood a little bit more in a centre forward position.
Finally, so Mason up top.
He doesn't have to necessarily make do with a berth outright. Just really exciting, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I think obviously Rashford's chosen to undergo that shoulder surgery, which is absolutely right decision. I think he needs a break. I think only Bruno played more games than him last season. I think he's played across the course of the last two seasons an average of 61 games a season, which is just way too much football for a 23-year-old man. You've seen him struggling. I think during the Euros that was part of the problem, that he wasn't getting on the pitch. Significant shoulder injury that he's been needed surgery on since December and hasn't had it. He's had the foot problem post that sort of Man City incident. So him actually being able to take a breather without it being a total hindrance to United, because he still put up 26, 27 goal involvements last year for United, which is big numbers for him. So when he comes back in October, hopefully that'll be another lift for United, because under Solskjaer, the last couple of seasons have started the season so slowly and poorly that fingers crossed now Jadon comes in early doors, even though he does have that 3-week holiday, it will be a better situation. So yeah, I agree. I think Jadon Sancho is a smart transfer.
But yeah, I think it's a very smart transfer. I don't think it's like makes United favourites by any stretch, unless, you know, even if Varane comes in, United aren't favourites by any stretch. But I think the gap, on the back of, if you get in Varane and Sancho, I'd be disappointed if the gap was any more than 10 points to Man City.
12 points last season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And City kind of took their foot off the throttle at the end because they had the Champions League final, for sure. But yeah, I mean, like, you had Diallo coming in, on the right-hand side as a substitute last season. It just means that, like, Greenwood is your impact sub. Like, you don't have... Edison Cavani missed 14 games last season, turns 35 this year. Like, it gives the right guys a rest as well, doesn't it?
Cavani's not going to put 30 games up in the Premier League, do you know what I mean? Like, he's consistently got injury problems. He's aging out, but he will play the big moment games, I think, Edinson Cavani. And Mason Green, at some stage, United are going to be able to see an attack of Marcus Rashford, who's 23, Mason Greenwood, who's 19, 20, and then Jadon Sancho, who's 21, as a front three. It's very exciting for the future, and probably a sign that United have started to improve their recruitment policy, because a few years ago it was a shit show.
Yeah, absolutely.
A shit show.
Even if it's just rumours this year, you are targeting the right players.
Fingers crossed,
Let's see how it goes.
All right, some other shouts then. I think we have to talk about PSG.
Oh,
I mean, I know they're spunking on wages, but some of those, Gigi Buffon, he may as well be, Gigi Donnarumma for a free. That is just ridiculous, man. That's the piece of business of the summer, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a video for One on One, which was out yesterday, so go and check it out after this video. But yeah, this is a guy who made 30 league starts when he was 16.
It's a joke. He's a joke.
Absolutely sickening. 215 appearances in Serie A already. In all competitions, well over 250 appearances under his belt by the time he's 22. It's like the most consistent start to a career in football history with regards to like minutes and the impact that he has on the first team. Like his save percentage over 6 seasons, 73% at AC Milan, despite the fact they only finished in the top 4 once. Like he was coming to prominence in a poor AC Milan team, and he was like, the boss from day dot. To get him on a free, Euro 2020 player of the tournament, absolutely sickening, and how he's only like 14th, 15th in the power rankings of the Ballon d'Or, beyond me. Like, that guy should be in the top 10, and is going to be, or could be, their goalkeeper for the next 15 years.
Yeah, and you feel for Keylor Navas, because he's not put too many feet wrong.
Someone get Keylor Navas for the next 2 years.
Well, it seems like Alphonse Areola is going to go to West Ham. That'll be quite a good bit of business. Another smart move, because obviously was pretty impressive in the Premier League last season with Fulham.
I think people forget Fabianski's like 36 as well.
Yeah, and he as in terms of goalkeepers, has injury problems. Like,
I do feel sorry for Keylor Navas. Like, throughout his time at Real Madrid, like, they were constantly linked with David De Gea, then he got replaced by Courtois, then he goes to PSG, performs really well. I don't know, it should have been Mike Manuel, but he made the Ligue 1 team in the season last year. Now they bring in Donnarumma. Like, poor guy, he must be like, can I catch a break?
That whole PSG summer, I think maybe Ramos aside, because I think Ramos is a questionable pickup. Like, obviously he's coming in for a reason in this PSG side. Pochettino feels like he needs another leader in there, but why let Thiago Silva go just 18 months ago if you're then going to pivot that strategy back to bringing in Sergio Ramos? I feel like that's a little bit of muddled thinking there from PSG. Maybe they are kind of admitting a mistake. They shouldn't have let Thiago Silva go in that first place, and saying that we need that slightly more experienced head to partner a Marquinhos and a Kimpembe in there. But Hakimi at 54 mil. It's just picking up the best right back in the world for fun, and he will have free reign of the right hand side in France.
Oh, absolutely, he'll be incredible. I think maybe the Sergio Ramos thing is like you saw in that City second leg. for PSG. Like, they slightly lost their heads, and that is a Ramos quality in some degree as well. But like, Kimpembe was just charging around, causing absolute mayhem. He then got sent off in a Ligue 1 game towards the back end of the year, like really cost them. So hopefully, if he brings more maturity out of Kimpembe, who looks like he will be one of the world's best centre-backs for the next 10 years when he just gets that maturity, I think he'll be a really astute signing. Like, I can't really fault any of them. I think Wijnaldum in midfield, if he plays
I love that move.
Verratti and Marquinhos in the holding position, like that's really solid as well. Paredes to come in under Herrera.
If he can play a bit like he does for Holland, where he actually is allowed into the box with more freedom.
Well, they've had to sign Danilo Pereira because that was a loan with an obligation to buy from Porto. So that was like, what, 14, 15? But like, fine as a squad player, can of course play central midfield, can be deployed CDM centre half as well. But yeah, like Wijnaldum is just infinitely more mobile than we saw Danilo Pereira. And like, you don't want
Herrera.
or Herrera. Herrera used to be at Athletic Bilbao like a super box-to-box midfielder. United ruined
I
him.
don't mind Herrera, but he had
another one.
strange season.
Yeah, another one. But yeah, I love that move.
But yeah, like he adds just a lot of mobility to that midfield because like Idrissa Gueye obviously can get about the pitch, but like he's not going to be effective in playing the final third like Wijnaldum. Yeah, they've picked up like new strings to their
big
bow,
old pressure on Poch. It has to be said this coming season, obviously after missing out on the Liga and title, missing out on Champions League, like it's shit or bust time for Poch with these signings, man. To bring these 4 players on a massive wage.
Oh, I think they'll walk the league.
And also, like, I think people fail to acknowledge just how inconsistent Neymar has been. Consistent on when he's on the pitch, mesmerising when he's on the pitch.
He never starts.
He started 15.7 90s to be precise last season. Like, they need other options. Yeah, they need those options.
I think he's played more than 20 league starts once in his PSG career.
And that was, he made 20 league starts. They've obviously got Sarabia as well. Angel Di Maria has been quite evergreen there. But people kind of put him down on the team sheet, but he's a really inconsistent name in terms of availability. So, might be without him once more next season. But yeah, they've got enough components to cover it.
You just feel like a final in 2020, semi-final this year. Like, they've kind of got over that quarter-final hoodoo that they had. And I think they're going to be right in the mix this year by a distance. Because Bayern have had a slightly quiet summer. Nagelsmann, new system to develop. Like Man City, quiet so far as well. Unless Kane and Grealish are right. Upamecano, great bit of business for Bayern as well. But we'll see whether he changes that sort of high line system as well. So we'll see. And then Liverpool, quiet in terms of attacking areas as well. It's just mainly been
Liverpool fans are starting to get a bit frustrated on my timeline. I think, despite the fact they've seen Van Dijk and Joe Gomez come back and obviously Konate come in, I think there's quite a few frustrated Liverpool fans about the amount that's being invested in that squad by FSG, particularly in that midfield area where they do have extreme talent. Like Naby Keita can't get a game. Let's not forget that. But I think they're seeing rival clubs like Chelsea put out 250 million last summer, United looking to spend over 100 million this summer, City potentially spending 200 million, and they're thinking to themselves, we've won the Champions League, we've won the Premier League, and we still can't get more than 50 million investment in this club.
Yeah, I did a podcast of some guys called Kopish, and they were like really reasonable Liverpool fans, and they were like thinking, let's go after the likes of Donyell Malen for 25 million euros, and that would secure his signature. Like PSV have said to Dortmund, who bid 20 million euros, right? You can have him for an extra 5 million euros, which is an unbelievable price for someone with his pedigree, someone with his output, someone who's only 22. And I think they're super concerned that Liverpool aren't even in for the targets they historically would be. Like at 25 million euros, that's like a prime Liverpool move, isn't it? Add a bunch of value to him. If he doesn't become a first team player, let him go for the same money or more money in 18 months, 2 years time. But yeah, they're not even going for players like Malen. Calvin Stengs, who we mentioned on this show like 4 weeks ago, has gone to Nice for 15 million euros. And he's like one of the top 5 Eredivisie talents last season. Myron Bauder is apparently going to Monaco for like roughly the same money, I've heard.
Well, they were interested in Saul, weren't they? Saul Niguez, according to reports, he's obviously going to go to Barcelona in this weird little Griezmann swap deal.
I think also FSG are losing a bit of standing with the fans because obviously they built that incredible, incredible team. Went on to put in 2 phenomenal Premier League seasons, win a Champions League, as we all know. But then, the European Super League came in. The what was it called? The British League that they tried to create. I can't even remember. Absolutely flop.
The British League, Liverpool, FSG. Oh no, they.
What's it called?
Liverpool and Manchester United both
tried to make the It got so superseded by the European Super League. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, that horrible idea to cut off the Premier League.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
That's big Phil
that was you guys.
Gott
It was you guys in
side.
FSG. Anyway,
Project Big Picture.
Project Big Picture. That's what it was. Yeah, the evil twin of the European Super League. Anyway, they've been massively part of both. So I think the Liverpool fans respect for FSG has dropped massively in the last 18 months.
All right, let's just do some other shouts then. I mean, Palace, despite the fact we're not the biggest fans of the Patrick Vieira management decision, which is more of an unknown than like being total nonsense. Like we just don't know whether he's going to be able to come in and overhaul that squad because it needed overhauling. The first signs are very positive. I don't know who's making the transfer decisions.
Friedman, mate, he's cutting about London.
But Michael Elise from Reading for £8 million, we really like that deal. It seems like Mark Guehi's going to go for 15 to 20 million pounds. There's a few varying reports there. Also seems like a really good bit of business, doesn't it? I mean, at Swansea last season, his output was fantastic. Obviously, in the playoffs, anybody who watched the playoffs would have seen Mark Guehi pick up, I think, man of the match in both legs there. And might be a little bit surprised to see Chelsea letting him go for that little, but I think they do have a sell-on option and a option to match the bid included in there, which is an interesting move by Thomas Tuchel because he has a surplus of central defensive talent. He's probably thinking, I can't just keep loaning Mark Guehi out. He's got to go at some stage.
Bruno has it that
I like those two little signings.
Yeah, Roma are also interested in Kurt Zouma for 30 mil, and if they part ways with Kurt Zouma and Guehi for £50 million, then it's kind of Chelsea's.
And Fikayo's gone for 25.
Marina Granovskaya has kind of done it again to an extent because it is just funding that Haaland move.
With 75 million for
she's done it again if they land
centre-backs.
Haaland. If they don't, I think it's a massive risk, to be honest. Next summer, it's going to be so competitive to get Haaland. I'm not sure whether he'll be, if you had the choice next summer of all the clubs in the world, would you necessarily join Chelsea?
He's nailed onto Atletico Madrid.
Exactly. Or another super club. Like, it doesn't feel like Chelsea is the nailed on one next summer. So it feels like they're selling quite a lot of their very promising youngsters, which I'm all for if you can get Haaland, just because they're probably not going to be first team regulars in the next 2-3 years.
But what can you do?
It feels risky.
I don't know what other choice they've got but to sell. I mean, Fikayo Tomoria's side, I think that was probably a mistake or at least too cheap. But Mark Guehi's not going to get minutes at Chelsea this season, and you can't keep loaning these players out endlessly.
But Abramovich is also just such a unique owner in that he does put money in, and doesn't necessarily expect something at the end of it.
Yeah.
So we say this money's fun. This money's balancing the books for a potential move for someone like Haaland, and I think what will differentiate Chelsea from their opposition when they're trying to secure a signature is the amount of wages they're probably willing to pay or the amount of money they're willing to pay up front. That is what they have over most clubs in world football that Abramovich would just slap
and
it
they
down.
did it with Pulisic, didn't they?
And Real Madrid can't afford that. Barcelona can't afford that. They're in dire straits, mate.
I have horrible images of Haaland and Mbappe both playing for Real Madrid next season.
Well, that's also interesting. I don't think it's going to be both. But the
Mbappe's
Mbappe contract situation, I think, is overshadowing. A year left, he can sign a pre-contract in Jan.
That's got Real Madrid written all over.
It's going to be very
100%.
expensive. It's going to be very expensive.
Before we go on to quick fire questions then, just wanted to mention one more name. I think Rodrigo de Paul is a really smart bit of business.
So cheap as well,
£30 million. I know that Udinese, they're scratching around for cash post-pandemic, but even so, £30 million, man.
They are winning the transfer window in Spain by a distance.
And to let Saul go to Barca, I think will have ruffled a few feathers. But if you can bring Griezmann back and you can bring in Rodrigo de Paul for a combined £30 million,
bring back your top scorer for 5 seasons in a row. He'll probably complement Suarez quite well as well, even though it didn't work that well between them.
And I'm not sure where Joao Felix fits in that.
Joao Felix maybe, but I think you can wait for Joao Felix. But Correa and then their midfield of Koke, Llorente, De Paul, they've got so many options now at Atleti, and it feels like while Barcelona are in absolute chaos and Real Madrid are sort of, offloading some of their stars and seemingly have to sell before they can buy, Atleti are just doing smart business.
Yeah.
I don't know what sort of reception the Griezmann is going to get is the one interesting thing.
No, especially after that exit.
After that exit, with La Decision or whatever it was the year before and then sneaking out. We'll see what sort of reception he gets, but hopefully quite good.
I'm sure they'll be keen to keep hold of Trippier as well, because I think Trippier is very, very keen to come back to the Premier League now after winning that title, 1 year left on his contract.
Mission
I
accomplished.
think
for
Diego
Trippier,
Simeone is thinking to himself, I want to keep him, because whenever he was fit, he started every game that he was fit last season for Atleti. He was vital in terms of that side. I think in terms of crosses into the box, there was no more accurate crosser from fullback positions than Kieran Trippier across Europe's top 5 leagues last season. So I'm pretty sure Simeone will want to keep him, because I do think those fullback areas are a problem. When Llorente had to play at fullback for periods when Trippier had that ban last season, I think that was a problem for Atleti. So although they're getting Griezmann and they get in Rodrigo de Paul, I think Simeone can't lose Trippier, or if he loses him, has to get a very good fee in order to reinvest next season.
It's a great fee for Rodrigo de Paul, because I think they pretty much knocked back the same amount from Leeds at the start of last season, but obviously owing to like the post-COVID environment, it's pretty much made like 40 million euro players become 30, and obviously so on and so forth. So yeah, smart man.
All right, let's move on to some quick fires then. We've got a lot down here. I'm just going to randomly pick one. This one from Boggle. How do you see the promoted clubs doing this season in the Premier League? I brought that one up because I know Christoph Ayer, who we've spoken about recently.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Seems like he's joining Brentford.
Yeah, and fair play to the Celtic board. I mean, they've not got an awful lot of decisions right in the last like 18 months, but stuck to their guns on Christopher Ayer. I think bidding started at £8 million for him. I think that was Newcastle, Norwich, and they were like, he's not an £8 million player. I think Celtic can say with some confidence that they know a Premier League player when they see one now, with given the success of Van Dijk, Kieran Tierney, Victor Wanyama, so on and so forth. But yeah, it looks like we're going to get 13.5. I don't necessarily know if that's up front, and then a further like 1.5 through bonuses. And Celtic are starting to make signings as well, so we're starting to see them reinvest that money into the team. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting whether he'll play centre half or CDM. I think he'll play centre half. I don't personally see him as a midfielder, but I've seen some rumours sort of circulating. But someone I think will be good enough to play for a top 6 team in 2 years. Like, I think it's similar trajectory to other Celtic players.
And I'm backing Thomas Frank to get the best out of him, to be honest with you. Brentford's recruitment has been so smart over the last few years. I don't think it'll change now. Other promoted sides, I'm just thinking about Norwich. I really like the Billy Gilmore move. He could be a star for them this season. Obviously, they had Ollie Skip last year, who I'm sure they'll be pretty keen to bring back. I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to, though. And yeah, I don't hate that bit of business from Norwich. Who was the other promoted side? It was
Watford.
Watford have bought in anyone?
Don't know, but we've just got a kid called Lowell, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, from Watford, who was their Academy Player of the Year. Celtic have just nabbed him. But Watford, you're right to like, they have signed like 2 or 3 relative unknowns. There was a player out of the French league for €10 million. We covered it on Winners and Losers a couple of weeks ago. But like quite speculative signings. No like nailed on like that excites me.
Yeah. They were linked with Ashley Young as well, and he went to Villa, didn't he? I can't really think who Watford.
Well, at least like they haven't lost too many players. Like Norwich as well haven't yet lost Max Aarons, haven't yet lost Todd Cantwell. Obviously they've lost Buendia, but they have bought in Mila Rashica as well.
I mean, good news for Watford. It seems quite quiet around Ismaila Sarr at the moment. João Pedro as well plays pretty well in patches during the Championship year as well. So I think it's going to be tough once again for all the promoted sides, to be totally honest. Although a lot of the Premier League sides have had really difficult summers. So.
Southampton, if they lose Danny Ings, down they go. Another one here from Toby Alderwall says, with Ramos and Varane probably leaving for United, well, Ramos has gone to PSG, sorry, are Real Madrid in serious danger of not getting the Champions League spot?
No, definitely not.
No.
Although like Benzema had to have a great season in order for them to be comfortable in the Champions League spots last term, and I think it was 33 goal contributions in 32 starts. The next highest goal scorer after Benzema, who got 23, was Casemiro on 6.
And then they've gone for the safe hands of Carlo, which might.
It's another just waiting year, isn't it? They're just waiting
for Mbappe.
And it's just a bit frustrating because I think their USP over the last 3 years has been their defence. It's been phenomenal, really. I think they've conceded 24 fewer goals than Barcelona over the last 2 seasons. And now Courtois looks in front of him, and it's Alaba and Nacho or Eder Militao as it stands. So we'll see.
Varane, I can see Varane.
Apparently, if Varane's going to leave, they're going to go for Jules Koundé, which would be an excellent signing. So.
Yeah.
If you're Rodriguez and you've just gone to Everton to follow Carlo, and rumour has it that Carlo wanted him back there. Of course, they've brought Odegaard back as well, and they had quite a fractious relationship, him and Ancelotti, when it first kicked off, because there was like a pressure to put him in the first team, wasn't there, when he was like 17?
Ancelotti called him like a PR signing or something as well.
Yeah, clearly wasn't happy with it. And it takes a lot to rattle Ancelotti, doesn't it? But they've got a good crop of young players, like enough for Ancelotti to secure. It was.
And they've still got some dead wood to sell. Isco's still there.
Asensio.
Asensio, I nearly said, but I think he's going to stay now. Asensio, because they got rid of Brahim Diaz, didn't they?
His output last season Brahim Diaz has gone back. I think
he's gone to AC, but on a permanent, I think.
I thought it was just a loan.
Yeah, he's definitely yesterday went back to AC Milan.
Oh, right, okay. Because I saw him return for pre-season.
He's gone back to AC Milan now. I think that might be a loan with an obligation at about 20 million euros. And I saw a few Real Madrid fans saying, not sure are we getting rid of Brahim Diaz and keeping the likes of Asensio and Isco.
Asensio's output was poor last season. But,
really poor.
But yeah, Sevilla were the closest from the chasing pack, weren't they? And if they hadn't bottled the run in, I think they had a few draws when a win would have guaranteed them leapfrogging Barcelona. They would have got in there, but then we're looking at Real Sociedad securing Champions League football or Villarreal, and they're still not quite there, are they?
No.
Yeah.
So it'd take something cataclysmic for Real Madrid to fall out of that.
Yeah, I agree. Final one then, before we do a personal, from Nerd Guild 99. Should UEFA ban England from hosting tournaments after the terrible scenes we saw at the final? Now, you were at the final, Dukes.
I was. Yeah.
Talk to us about the scenes first and foremost.
Well, firstly, great game. Really enjoyed the game. Fair play to Italy. Better side. Fair play to anyone who stepped up to take a penalty, obviously. Racist abuse, abhorrent, as we all know. Horrendous, some of the treatment of English players in the last week or so. But the scenes from about 4 p.m. when I was there, it's the first England game I've ever gone to as well. Never been to Wembley to watch an England game, only been there to watch Spurs. And to be honest, I'd never seen anything like it, even from 4 p.m. You get off at Wembley Way and you're walking down and there's just beer cans being thrown everywhere. There's fireworks being thrown into crowds of people. There were men shouting at underage girls to take up their tops. It was the worst of English culture that I've ever seen. And I think this nation, particularly our football fans, have a bit of a drinking problem. English football fans as well, heavily drug problem as well. And it was kind of inexcusable, to be honest, because there were so many people there without a ticket. It was really poorly policed, but I'm going to put it on the fans, to be honest. There were people acting so inappropriately, so wrongly, and it kind of ruined the occasion. And then you see that, to be honest, in terms of what I saw, I didn't see the storming of the stadium. I didn't see the fans fighting amongst themselves between ticketed and unticketed fans. I didn't see any racism, but I just saw a lot of loutish behaviour that made you feel quite uncomfortable. My friend, it could have been way worse. He got hit on the hand with a full beer can lobbed from 30 metres up. There was a lot of very young fans that just didn't know how to act. There was a lot of very old fans that didn't know how to act.
Yeah.
It was a real shit show, to be honest, from start to finish. And it really coloured what could have been a really special day. And I woke up the next day not that upset that England had lost. I was more upset in what I'd seen and how our players had been treated.
Yeah, I have to say, I think Wembley has a real problem of what would be termed the ring of steel, mainly across Europe, in the ticketed fans classically at finals across Europe can't generally get within a mile to a mile and a half of the stadium without a ticket. So if you think to maybe the Stadio Olimpico, or you think to even Cardiff when the Champions League final was there, you have 3 barriers before entry. So you have your initial ring where if you don't have a ticket, you're just not getting past there. Then you've got your next ring where they do ticket checks, or they do COVID checks or bag checks. Then you've got your turnstiles and you're in the ground. The ring of steel for England games around Wembley is maybe 100 yards from the stadium, because you come off of Wembley, get off at Wembley Park on the tube and you walk down Wembley Way. The way they built Wembley is that they've got cafes and shops, and they've tried to make it this sort of whole little environment.
They want you to stay there as long as possible.
Exactly. And what actually that has caused is that people get off the train at Wembley Park, don't get their tickets checked at Wembley Way, despite the fact you're meant to, and are able to walk all the way to the stadium past a lot of alcohol sellers and down a concourse that is quite narrow and does promote a supercharged environment effectively, and then you're at the stadium. So there is no ring. The first two checks are too close to the stadium. By the time you're at your COVID and your bag check, you're literally under the stadium. So you can just climb over the wall and get in.
This is another thing. You mentioned COVID and a bag check. I didn't get checked for COVID. As in, I didn't even have to show my negative lateral flow. I was wearing a coat with deep pockets, wasn't checked.
Yeah.
Like, I could have brought in anything into that stadium and no one would know. I mean, I could have been riddled with COVID. I don't know why you used the word riddled, but yeah, I could have been COVID positive and given it to everyone around me. Like, no one checked anything. That like the organisation like really failed. But as you say, it's like down to a lot of structure around Wembley.
It is down to a lot of structural problems. Although I have to say, having been to the round of 16 against Germany and the semi against Denmark, the scenes weren't as bad as that one. There was still a horrendous lack of policing on Wembley Way. Wembley Way's policing, we're talking maybe 4 or 5 bobbies walking up and down Wembley Way for what is genuinely like 30,000 people stood in a square with flares, with smoke bombs, openly doing drugs in public, openly drinking. There's just nowhere near enough policing on Wembley Way and around the stadium for a major event like that. I don't think it will have massively affected it because it's a Great British bid, so you've got stadiums in Scotland, Ireland, you've got Cardiff. It's not just Wembley, and there was proof across the course of the tournament that England and Wembley could host games and did so very successfully up until the final. But my God, is that a wake-up call for the Wembley events team and the Met Police around the area, because you cannot see scenes like that at a World Cup when there's foreign fans coming in. There was only, 5,000 Italians at the final, 6,000 Italians? Imagine if that was 20,000 Italians or 30,000 Italians, 30,000 Englishmen. It would have been chaos there. It would have been like a WWE Royal Rumble. Honestly, it would have been terrible. So things need to get done about that pretty badly. Don't know if you've got anything to add or...
No, I think I made my thoughts pretty clear on the winners and losers that me and Zach did in the aftermath of the result. So yeah, just interesting listening to you boys there, as people who went to the games.
Yeah, not great, but not great.
The worst thing about, well, not the worst thing about it by any stretch, sorry, that's completely the wrong way to start that sentence. The UEFA dignitaries and the FIFA people were there at the final in a room watching everyone storm the stadium. Like, if that shows like how we can run a major final, like it's not going to do well for our bid. But frankly, I don't really care about the bid. I'm more concerned about like the families that were there, people that brought small children. The things you had to
dad
see,
broke
like,
his ribs, got crushed in the turnstiles, broke his ribs.
My friends and me are like 27, and one of my friends was like freely admitted, like, I am quite scared right now. And we all felt on edge. You were constantly having some drinks near the stadium, and you were looking in the air in case something was about to land on you the whole time.
Yeah, it is that sort of environment, like that's a horrible environment to be in. Let's finish with a personal question then. YN Wagameni says, are you guys following the Olympics, and if so, what sport are you most looking forward to?
Oh. Yeah, I love the Olympics. How about you go first?
I just love the random nature of it. You know, like it can be, you can be bored at 2 o'clock in the day and just think, why not? I'll watch some shot put or something like that. It is interesting that obviously, like my access point to it has been through football. Has been like, bless you, Zach. Has been like Barcelona saying like we don't want Pedri to go and play in the Olympics, and he's still going to play. Bless him. He's played like 65 games, hasn't he, this season in all competitions, and is still rocking out for Spain. But yeah, which is the Tokyo specific sport this time around? Is it skateboarding? I like it when someone brings.
Or is it surfing?
Yeah, they've introduced skateboarding. I know.
I like it
when it might be surfing.
Or was it just skateboarding for the last Olympics at Rio? I think it might be skateboarding this time around, but I like it when they bring like one specific one in.
Yeah. I have to say, like, I don't follow the Olympics as closely, but I usually end up watching a lot of it. Like in the build-up, I'm just clueless, and then I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my god, look at
You get so invested.
Do you know what I mean? Because there's so many sports and so many athletes to keep track of. I genuinely don't have a clue. But I've seen a lot of people over the last week kind of moaning, there's no Team GB team in like the football and stuff. And it's just like, well, yeah, because if they went into the Team GB team, they're all going to lose their independent status with FIFA. That's the reason that we don't submit one. That's the reason in 2012 it was just Wales and England as Team GB, and like Scotland and Northern Ireland refused to be part. Because they know that as soon as they do, even though FIFA are like, oh, we won't take it away, they will.
I'm excited for it. I mean, from a British perspective, we won't probably have the medal hopes we did in previous years. Like Mo Farah's not going, he's got a stress fracture and he's about to retire as well. I think Jessica Ennis-Hill's now retired, Greg Rutherford, the log jumper, he's out. But there's a British athlete called Dina Asher-Smith, who's a sprinter. She's fucking rapid, and she's got a really good chance in the 100 metres, which is going to be so cool to watch. and one of her big rivals has just been quite unfairly banned from competition because she smoked weed, which isn't performance enhancing, and she was trying to get over finding out that her biological mother had just died. And there's a big furore around it at the moment. So Dina Asher-Smith's chances have gone up through that, but I do feel very sorry for her. I think she's called Sha'Carri Richards.
Adam Peaty.
Yeah, I was going to say Adam Peaty.
Sets a record every single competition,
That boy can swim.
I've been doing some outdoor swimming and I channel my inner Adam Peaty when I'm doing not a heated pool, step into it's about -8 and freezing me a little bit.
That'll get you going, man.
Yeah, I love Adam Peaty, man.
He sets his targets not on how many medals he can win, but how many world records he can break.
Yeah,
he's a different fish.
Also, we've got that. Is she
breed.
British, the 13-year-old skateboarder Zach? Yeah, she is, isn't
Someone
she?
Brown.
Sky Brown,
Sky
is
Brown,
it? Sky
yeah.
Brown. She's 13. And she's like one of our medal hopes for skateboarding at Team GB. She's insane, mate.
She could do another 5-6 Olympics. No, maybe not that many, but she's got a lot in her.
Little unlock character on the next Tony Hawk's Underground.
Unreal. Right, let's wrap it up there then. What do we want to push to? Anything to plug?
Yeah, why don't you go check out Continental Club? We didn't talk about it on this show in great depth, the Griezmann-Sal swap deal, because we know it was on Continental Club on Friday, so we're discussing that. And other players that need to be sold or are being sold under certain conditions this summer.
Interesting. How?
Yeah, go and check out 1-on-1 where I break down goals 20 leading candidates for the Ballon d'Or. And actually, this is the first time because the Ballon d'Or has always bored me to an extent, like the theatre around it. But I actually looked at the criteria for the Ballon d'Or, and it did.
Who do you think should win it?
It did shed a little bit more light on the various nuances of it. Yeah, it's going to be Messi now. He's won the Copa America, right? Which denies Lewandowski for 2 years in a row. But I think they should give Lewandowski one retrospectively. I really do.
After last year's show, definitely.
I mean, they cancelled it because of truncated seasons or whatever. But I feel like the shout was quite premature because the only leagues that ended sooner than expected was the Eredivisie, League 1, the Scottish Football League.
Yeah.
I think most of the bigger ones were played out to their full extent. And in a year where it required,
and he went on to break Gerd's record.
It required an unbelievable amount of discipline mentally to see out that season in such unprecedented circumstances. Like, they should be rewarded, not denied. So I want to see Messi on stage, and then I want to see a wrestling entrance from Lewandowski.
I feel so sorry for him. Yeah, in a year of with so many major tournaments he's going to be handicapped because he's Polish.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And everyone's like Jorginho, arguably player of the tournament. I know that Donnarumma won it, and he won the Champions League as well. But then you look at the goal contributions in 2021 from Messi, and you're I forgot he put up 40 something goal contributions.
Freakish.
He put Barcelona on his back last season at 34.
Yeah.
Mad. So, yeah.
All right, there we go. That's it for another week's episode of Sunday Vibes. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching.